Subpart C, steam locomotive and tenders 23066, design and construction and maintenance. The steam locomotive owner and operator are responsible for the general design, construction, maintenance of the steam locomotive tenders under the current 23067. The responsibility for inspection and repairs. The steam locomotive operator shall inspect and repair all steam locomotives tendered under the control. All defects in disclosed inspection shall be repaired in accordance with accepted industrial standards, which include the established railroad practices before the steam locomotive tender is returned to the service. Steam locomotive owner and operator shall not return the steam locomotive tender to the service unless it is in good condition, safe, and suitable for service. Speed indicators. Steam locomotives operator's speed in excess 20 miles per hour over the general system of the railroad transportation shall be equipped with, and speed indicators will be equipped, and speed indicators shall be maintained to ensure the accurate functioning. The ash pan shall be securely supported mud rings of the frames will not impart the less than 2 to 2.5 inches above the rail. The operating machine mechanism shall be arranged for the may be safely operated and securely closed. Brake signal equipment. Safe condition. Pre-departure inspection. Each of the beginning day the locomotive is used, the steam locomotive operator shall ensure that the brake on the steam light tender are in safe and suitable conditions. The air compressor is in condition to provide an ample supply of air of locomotive service if intended device regulating all pressure, all properly performing their function. 4. The brake valves will properly in all positions. The water has been drained from the air brake system. Brake pipe valve required each system. Steam locomotive shall be a brake pipe valve that attached from the front and tender rear back cab wall and adjacent to the existing vestibule cab. The words emergency brake valve shall be clearly displayed near the valve. 23071 orifices testing pressure. The frequent testing of the compressor or the compressors shall be tested for the capacity. Orifice tested as often as condition required, but not less than frequently once every 92 service days. Orifice testing criteria. Compressor is most commonly listed in following table shall be the orifice testing of the criteria. You have your make, your compressor size, your single strokes, diameter, air pressure, and permanent orifices in pounds. So Westing has a compressor size of 9.5 and single strokes of 120 in diameter, air pressure of 11/16, and an orifice of inches to pounds, 60 pounds. We have all 60-pound pressures for the Westing houses in the New Yorks. Their sizes range from 9 to 1.5, 11 inches, 9 to 1.5 to 11 to 150 CFM, 8 to 12 cc's, 120 CFI. M's 8, 12, 2A's, 6A, and 6AB. The only jumps you see is in the New Yorker and the Westinghouse at the very top, and the 2A and the 9 and 1.5 with 11/16s and with 13/64s. Note this table should be altitude, including the 1,000 feet for altitudes over 1,000 feet for the compressor shall be increased to 5 single strokes per minute for each of the 1,000 feet increased altitude. The compressor is not listed in title. The table paragraph in the section the air pressure maintained shall not be less than 80% of the manufacturer rated capacity compressor. 203072 hammer testing and main reserve hammer and hydrostatic testing. Except for the described paragraphs in the B and D of this section, every main servicer except for the casting integrity for the frame shall be in the hammer hydrostatically tested during each annual inspection. The reserve shall be tested and emptied with no pressure applied. The no defective areas are detected. A hydrostatic MAWP shall be applied. With the exception of B, each main reserve except for the integular frame shall be hydrostatic tested in an annual inspection. Also is D, but these are the exemptions. Drilling of the main reserve. Only the welded main reserve originally constructed with the in-stand level at least 5 times of the MAW may be drilled over an entire surface. The telltale holes that are 3/16 of an inch diameter. The holes shall be placed no more than 12 inches apart. Measured both longitude circumferential drilled from the other surfaces in extreme depth determined on the following formula. The depth is equal to 6 tenths of 6 PRs and SPs, whereas the depth is extreme depth of the telltale holes in which the no case length of 1/16 of an inch. Certified P is the certified working pressure PSI. S is the one and a fifth 1/5 of the minimum specified tensile strength of the material in the PSI. R is the inside radius of the reserve in the reserve inches. So you have your department, the depth of the telltale holes, in no case less than 1/16 of an inch, and plus your certified working pressure plus your radius in the reserve inches is divided by the minimum specified tensile strength of material in PSI by 1/6 of a tenth in certified working pressure PSI. One row of holes shall be drilled lengthwise of the reserve and intersecting with the draining opening. When the main reserves are drilled and described in paragraph B1 of the section, hydrostatic hammers described in the paragraph A of the section are not required during the annual inspection. Whenever any telltale shall be penetrated interior, any reserve shall be permanently withdrawn for the service. Welded and main reserve within longitude lap seams. Weld main reserve that did not have longitude lap beams operated the NDE method. They may measure wall thickness reserves instead of the hammer test and hydrostatic tested paragraph A section, spacing the sampling points of the wall. They're consistently greater than 12 inches longitude circumferential reserve. The shell permanent with withdrawal service of the NDE testing reveals that wall thicknesses shall be valued determined in the following formula. T equals PR divided by S6P. The T stands for the minimum wall thickness. P stands for the certified working pressure. S stands for the minimum tensile strength of the material in the PSI. At 10,000 PSI, if tensile strength is unknown, and R is the radius in the reserve inches. Welded and riveted longitude lap seams of the reserve. Welded, riveted. So basically, you have your minimum wall thickness by your pressure and your radius of the reserve divided by the minimum tensile strength, 1/6 of the pressure, sort of working to pressure. Welded and riveted longitude lap seams, main reserve. For welded riveted longitude lap seams, main reserve, and an appropriate NDE method for the can measure the wall thickness reserve shall be installed, or in addition with the hammer test, the hydrostatic test, placing the sample points of the walking thickness shall not be greater than 12 inches longitude circumferential. Particular care shall not be taken measure of the longitude seams of the bolt plates in the interval no more than 6 inches longitude. The reserve shall be withdrawn permanently for the service. Whether the NDE testing reveals the thickness of the value determined in the following formula. The minimum wall thickness divided by the certified working pressure divided by the F and the tensile strength of O as 1/6 of the point of the working pressure. Once again, same 230.73 location. Air gauges shall be located that may be conventionally read to the engineer at his or her usual position in the cab. No air gauge may be more than 3 psi in air. Frequency of tests. Air gauges shall be tested prior to the reapplication following removal during the 92-day service whenever the irregularity is reported. Method of testing. Air gauges shall be tested using an accurate test gauge or dead weight tester designed for the purpose. 230.74 time cleaning. All valves in the air brake system, including the related dirt collectors, filters, shall be cleaned and tested in accordance with the accepted braking equipment manufacturer specification. Conditions required to maintain the safe to suitable condition for the service not less than frequently than 368 service days during the second initial annual inspection, whichever occurs first. 230.75 stencil date of the testing cleaning. The date of the testing cleaning of the initial shop at the station in which work is done. Eligible stencil and conspicuous place of the tested parts placed on the card displayed of the transfer covered the car of the steam locomotive. 230.76 piston travel. Minimum piston travel. The minimum piston travel shall be sufficient to provide the proper braking chute clearance with the brake chutes released. The maximum piston travel. The piston travel of the steam locomotive is standing and shall be as follows. Type of wheel brake. The cam type of the driving wheel brake is 3.5 inches. Other forms of driving wheel brake is 6 inches. The engine truck brake is 8 inches and the tender brake is 9. 23777 Foundation of the brake gear. Maintenance of the foundation of the brake gear shall be maintained safe, suitable condition, level rods, brake beams, hangers, and pins that are ample strength shall never be fouled. Any way which reflects the proper operation of the brake shall be properly secured in place of the counterpin in place. Split case nuts and brake shoes may be properly applied to the key. Proximity tread to the wheels, distance above the rails. No part of the foundation braking gear of the steam locomotive tenders should be less than 2.5 inches above the rails. Leakage. Main reserve related pipe and leakage for the main reserve related to the pipe is necessary every 92 service days shall not exceed the average of 3 psi per minute in the testing of 3 minutes duration that is made after the psi has made reduced to 60% of the maximum operating procedure. The braking cylinder and the leakage of the braking cylinder should be tested at every 92 service days with a full service application from the maximum brake pipe pressure with locomotion communication of the brake cylinder closed. The brake system brakes on the steam locomotive tender must be applied to the minimum of 5 minutes. The brake pipe aim locomotive brake pipe leakage shall be tested in the beginning of each day locomotive is used shall not exceed 5 per psi per minute. 23079 train signal system. When utilizing train signal system, any other form of onboard communication shall be tested, noting the safe, suitable condition for the service at the beginning of each day of the locomotive is used. Cabs and warning standards and lights.